Hi there, it's Sarah from Inspire Tarot. Welcome to the channel. Let's see what message the Spirit has for us today. The Ace of Materials. So this is about an investment, a new opportunity in the material realm. Being inspired or invited to create something that helps humanity, that helps with your own healing, and that is going to bring in some money and hopefully put you around other people, introduce you to other people to help you with healing. And I think it's interesting how these opportunities lead us into many things. They can seem serendipitous, that we meet a certain person and it changes our life path. And it's never really by accident, it's just an opportunity. So these ace opportunities are something that comes in quickly and they need to be taken advantage of as and when they come in. So yeah, this is an opportunity to work within the material realm. It could be a new business, could be a new group, could be anything, could be absolutely anything, but it's something in the material realm that is a new opportunity. So the Four of Emotions card is the Four of Cups card. It's about us being blind to these opportunities, that we can feel very apathetic and unfulfilled and maybe even ungrateful. So it could be that this opportunity that's coming in is something that we are scared to go towards, or we just have this kind of hopeless feeling that we'll never succeed, so there's no point with it. And I think every time we're given a new opportunity, we should go for it, because we get to learn a little bit more about ourselves. We tend to focus too much on the material, on egoic things, that the ego values that are of no importance really. You know, how many likes, how many followers, how many things that we sell, how much money we make. And the Spirit doesn't want us to focus on these things. The Spirit wants these things to be flushed up so we can look at them. But the whole idea is to move us out of this negative place where we're focused on the empty cups. I mean, I think this card's brilliant in that she's sat in this large cup with 3 cups, and she's blissfully, and it's almost like she's blissfully unaware that she's in this large cup. And she's being supported from below by 2, I don't know, what maybe looks like angels. And it just, I think it beautifully depicts how we can be blissfully unaware of the opportunities around us. And our emotional state comes from our perception, should I say, comes from our emotional state. So the Spirit wants us to be inspired by something, by this new opportunity. This Page of Inspiration card is very inspiring to me. It kind of looks very colourful, kind of quirky, definitely very creative. And I like that the black cat is in there, which is a symbol of, the black cat is a symbol of our feminine power. Yeah, I just think the hair kind of shows that it's a symbol of how we can be in flow, and how all the different colours of the rainbow can flow out of us. And then there's this colourful cloud that lifts up into the air, which is our creativity being sent out into the world. And when we're in our creativity, we tend to lose ourselves, and we get so lost in what we're doing that we forget a lot of our negative patterns and things. And that's why a lot of us like being creative. So with the Four of Emotions, we definitely want to be tapping more into this inspiration and less into our limiting beliefs and feelings of stuckness, because that keeps us very discontent and blocked. and then we can't put our best into the things that we're doing, into our new projects and these new opportunities, because we're just not seeing correctly. So the Spirit is asking us to really follow our bliss, follow our inspiration, and not worry about where it leads particularly. Just to follow it. And it may lead us to new people, or learning new things about ourselves, and it probably will flush up our limiting beliefs and our lack and things. But the Spirit wants us to look at it. The Spirit wants us to use the things that we're doing inform our inspirations to help us heal the mind. So we kind of want to jump in wholeheartedly and go for it. And the page of inspiration is very kind of young at heart, full of ideas, very passionate and curious. And I think this part of ourselves kind of offsets the emotions. So the Four of Emotions is about not seeing the bigger picture and being bogged down by limiting beliefs, whereas the page of inspiration is young and doesn't have too many, hasn't become cynical. It's just full of ideas and full of trust and belief in their own power. So we're kind of learning to lean more into the page of inspiration and more into the reverse of the Four of Emotions, where we're coming out of our feeling stuck and blocked and following our inspiration wherever it leads. Right, these cards want to come out. The Priestess, the Empress and the Emperor. Wow. Powerful. So to me, this suggests that we're learning to balance our masculine and feminine. So we're learning to balance the inner world with the outer world. And we do this by going within, by understanding that our intuition is our divine power, and that the Spirit is always teaching us to balance these aspects of ourselves, the internal and the external, and the giving and the receiving. And yeah, we have a lot of distortion within ourselves that the Spirit really wants us to work on. So with these cards coming out, this creative opportunity is the perfect vehicle for us to move through to follow our bliss and move through our limiting beliefs, to tune in, to get really tuned in more and more to understanding that our intuitive guidance is there to help us, and it's also there to inspire us to go a certain way. And the Empress and the Emperor are very kind of mature and balanced aspects. They both have a high degree of mastery, and in this way they're very empowered. And we kind of want to balance the masculine and the feminine aspects of ourselves, because it's a potent combination, and we possess both of these aspects within us. So it's something that we must each balance within ourselves. We need that healthy application of both in order to find balance. And I know for many of us, this has been a challenge, because in our culture, there is imbalance, and we're here to heal it within ourselves. And then once we've healed it within ourselves, that is reflected outwardly into the world. And it is the job of a lifetime. It's not just a little thing that we do. So we're really learning to attune to understanding the way the universe works, and that it's an inside job. And I like here that the Emperor is depicted as a female, which kind of suggests, the Priestess, the Empress and the Emperor are all depicted as females in this card, to show us that it's an inside job. It's not really about gender per se. It's about balancing the aspects of ourselves that are associated with gender. So the Priestess is very much about our inspired guidance, and the Empress is good at nurturing and reading between the lines and creating things. He's very abundant and lets things flow. And he's powerful at contribution. And the Emperor kind of brings that leadership quality and that feeling of empowerment and influence and stability. So the way I'm reading this today is the Lovers is about self-love, really. It's about learning to integrate the masculine and feminine within us, and to love ourselves unconditionally as we navigate this path, because it is challenging for us to learn, because often we have very distorted perception. But the Lovers is about learning to love ourselves equally, loving our light, loving our darkness, allowing ourselves to be as we are, and just bringing grace to us. So the spirit within us knows that there's a part of us that's always completely whole and healed. That's the spirit. And then the distorted stories that we attach to, and that we are always the higher self at all times, but we confuse ourselves with what you may want to call the lower self, or the fragmented story. And that we're allowed to be wherever we are, because there aren't really any mistakes. And we're learning to be true to ourselves, to forgive ourselves, and to refine our values and our beliefs, and just become more discerning and loving, more authentic, more vulnerable, more honest, more trusting. And we do this by bringing love and kindness to all of the parts of ourselves. So we've got the Ace of Voices, the Eight of Emotions, and the Page of Materials. So to me, the Ace of Voices is a card about epiphanies. It's about wisdom, which is depicted by the owl in flight, and the various colours in her hair, and this kind of beam of light that's coming out of the mind. So even though we know that the mind is not actually in the body, we kind of think of the mental capacity as within the head. But that's just part of the illusion. But the Ace of Swords is about expanding our awareness when we become more deeply connected with spirit. And we do this as we balance the masculine and feminine aspects of ourselves, and balance the light and the darkness. So yeah, this is the Ace of Voices. To me is like a new level of consciousness that's been opened up. And the Eight of Emotions is the Eight of Cups card, which talks about moving on or leveling up. And this is kind of a state of mind that we're in essentially all the time. We may notice some big, seemingly worldly occurrences that we feel as if that we have to level up and walk away from. But this Eight of Emotions card just looks so expansive. It's like she's walking through the desert. But the desert looks kind of vibrant and zingy, and this huge sun that's above her. And she's kind of walking away with her head held high. And understand with the Page of Materials that we're always learning. We're always seeking truth, and that we're very growth oriented, and that we're the eternal student. And we can be consistent and follow our inner guidance over and over. And we get a taste for it. The more we wake up, the more inspired we are, the more we want to just keep going, because we start to feel better. We trust the journey more, and we just feel more excited that we have what it takes to go through the darkness. Like, earlier on in the journey, I really didn't feel as if I had what it took to go through the darkness. Whereas now that I know that I can face my emotions, I know that I can do it. Learning to process emotions to me was one of the biggest things, because I always used to perceive my negative emotions coming up as something bad. Whereas when the Spirit taught me that the darker emotions coming up are helpful, it's what we want. We want them to come up. Because then we get to look at the erroneous beliefs and we get to release this emotion, which actually does purge out. It has a purpose. And the page of materials is showing us that we just keep going. Steady progress is where it's at. And keep an open mind to whatever the Spirit brings in for us next. Seven of materials shows us that we're working hard, and then much of the work that we're doing we can't see, but we've just got to keep faithfully watering the plant, because under the surface, in the unconscious mind, the parts that we can't see are shifting and changing. The more attuned we are to the ego, the less aware we are of what's in the subconscious mind. And we see the effects of what's in the subconscious mind in the external world. But we're learning to accept that we are the power and that we need to master it from within. I think quite often we want to control the external world, but the external world is essentially created from within. So we need to trust the process and allow these seeds to grow. And it helps us work on our patience and cope and work on delayed gratification and surrender, and just be mindful, because we know that we can't judge our advances from our retreats and that we are always healing. And quite often when we feel frustrated or impatient, that card clearly wanted to come out. It flew out onto the floor. Yeah, so the 10 of materials is, I like to think of this as our divine inheritance. It shows us that we're spiritually connected to everyone and everything, and that we see everyone and everything as a friend, not as a stranger, but as a part of ourselves. And that gives us this feeling of abundance and stability when we know that the world is on our side. Only the ego thinks the world's not on our side. When we think something is happening that isn't good, it's because we're just looking at it in isolation and we don't understand the part it plays in the overall awakening, the overall building of trust. And this card's beautiful. It shows a group of people all hand in hand with this huge tree that's absolutely blossoming and blooming because of all the love and the unity that's poured into it. And we really can see the world as for us. We don't need anybody else to change in order to do that. We just have to understand the bigger picture, that everything is always in divine harmony, and having the ego undone is an uncomfortable process. But it's necessary to free us from our fragmented small self, even though it feels painful to crumble and fall apart from our small self. It's also something that we need to do in order to see our more expanded self. And we go through the process a bit at a time, so it's not too, if it was to happen all at once, we were just completely to obliterate our human self, then we'd probably be too disturbed. Whereas the Spirit knows that we can refine our self-concept over and over until we let go of our individual identity more and more. And we do that by opening up to see that we're all one, and that everything is harmonious, and that everything is helping us. And it brings us to this we just feel very privileged and very complete, but also not attached to the material, because we know that the oneness is really just a state of mind or a state of being. So that was an interesting reading today. I hope you enjoyed it. I love you all. Bye.